Recently, I had the opportunity to go on a trip to Montana, and Montana is just beautiful. The mountains of Montana are so majestic, and after seeing this wonderful scenery, I knew that I just had to recreate these mountains in this Minecraft world. Let me just talk about the size of these mountains real quick. This picture was taken up in the mountains on the Continental Divide. Here is a place called Logan Pass. It's 6,646 feet high, or 226 meters. Above it here is Mount Pegan, which is 9,225 feet, or 2,812 meters. The height difference between these 2 points is 786 meters. And just for a little perspective, a Minecraft world from bedrock to build height is 384 meters. So you could fit the height of 2 whole Minecraft worlds between these mountains. And this is only showing the tippy tops of the mountains. The mountains still have a whole base to them. How am I ever going to be satisfied with the mountains that I build when real life mountains already made them this big and beautiful? I have made the decision to increase the size of the map I'm going to make. If I'm ever going to be happy with them, then they have to have some decent size. So, a quick question. How big should the map be? Well, originally I planned on the world being 2,800 blocks by 1,900 blocks. I actually think I'm going to double the dimensions to 5,600 blocks by 3,800 blocks, which is almost exactly the size of the map for the Winecraft server. So now I'm beginning to realize this is a massive project that I'm going to be doing. This project is probably something that should be undertaken by a team of builders, but I don't have that, so it's just gonna be me for now. Well, I better get started. The mountains I'm building are mainly inspired by the mountains in Glacier National Park. The climate here is a DF climate, which means it gets cold in the winters and has a consistent precipitation year-round. While the winters are freezing, the summers are really nice. The local bioregion in Glacier National Park is a temperate coniferous forest. Conifers like to grow on humid areas, and their needles help protect them from the cold, making them a perfect fit for this area. If I want to build a similar region in my world, I need to find an area where there is a DF climate on a mountain range. Looking at the maps I planned out in the last episode, there is an area here at the bottom where both conditions are fulfilled. So that's where I'm going to build today. The first thing I'm doing is planning out the mountain range. With wool, I quickly mark the peaks and ridges of the mountains to get a general idea of the scale. Now up in the air, I'm sketching a skeleton frame for the mountains. This is the first look at what the shape of the mountains is going to be. Forming the major shape of the mountain is rather simple, and I would show you more of the process, but I lost a lot of the footage, so here's the final product of the shape of the mountain. Now comes the fun part. I get to cover up this model of a mountain with stone. I know that sounds boring, okay? But because it's just rock. But bear with me. While in Montana, I took notes of what the cliff faces looked like. I really tried to pay attention to the details in the mountains, and I found that these rocks are so unique. Look at this picture I took. Look at the strata. Like, the red, blue, and yellow all so close together. It's so weird. This picture doesn't quite capture it, but these rocks have really vibrant colors. Let me show you a bit better. Here I have 4 samples of rocks that can be found in different layers in the mountains of Glacier National Park. These are sedimentary rocks that formed on top of the crust, got partially crushed by pressure before being thrust up into mountains by tectonic activity. The fact that they got partially crushed is very important because it means that they are harder than sedimentary rock, but they didn't get crushed all the way, so they didn't make it into metamorphic rock. They are stuck between the 2 types of rock. The most common rocks I saw in the park are these 3. Everywhere I went, I saw blue, red, and yellow rocks like this. After doing some research, I found that these 2 rocks are called agrolite. but they are special because they have high levels of iron in them. That's what gives them their color. In this red one, the iron was exposed while the rock was forming, allowing it to oxidize and make this nice rusty red. While this blue rock didn't have access to oxygen while it was forming, so the iron is in a reduced state, leaving it blue. I'm not 100% sure what the yellow rock is. It's definitely sedimentary because it's really soft and kind of rubs off easily. But beyond that, I'm not sure. I heard there are tons of limestone in Glacier National Park, but limestone is usually more pale than this, so I'm not really sure. These three types of rocks were by far the most common throughout Glacier, but I do have one more rock sample. On the surface, this looks a lot like the reduced form of iron agrolite, but on the inside, it looks completely different. Again, I'm not really sure what this is, but I'm pretty sure it's quartzite. This rock is really special because it reminds me of a rock I had when I was 6. I remember going for a hike in Alaska with my family, and I found a rock that was shaped like this. And my 6-year-old self thought it looked like cheese, so I kept the rock in my pocket and I called it the cheese rock. But unfortunately, tragedy struck. At some point later in the hike, the rock fell out of my pocket and I lost it. Now, because I was 6, I was absolutely hysterical at losing this rock. So my family helped me look for it for quite a while and we never found it. But my parents found a rock that was a lot like the cheese rock and tried to convince me that it was the cheese rock, but I knew that it wasn't the actual cheese rock. So fast forward like 12 years, and still to this day, the fake cheese rock is still sitting on our shelf at home, and my parents still insist that it's the actual cheese rock. But the real cheese rock is just sitting in some field in Alaska, and I'm never gonna find it again. But anyway, that whole story just to say, this rock reminds me a whole lot of that one.
And just while I'm out here, this is your daily reminder to go and touch grass. Also, hello dog.
Okay, back in Minecraft, we are going to apply all of this rock knowledge that we now have into adding layers to the mountains. You can see here I'm trying to add a little dark layer. This is some igneous rock that has managed to find its way into the mountain, but you can see me also adding the red layer, which is the oxidized form of iron agrolite, and you can also see the blue layer as the unoxidized form of iron agrolite. So I'm really trying to take the real world geology and actually apply it here to make the mountains look cool, you know? I think it worked. I really like how they look. But that's enough for geology. Now we get to move on to the foliage, and I'm so excited. Okay, so Montana had a lot of different types of trees, but the main one that I'm going to be building are called subalpine firs. They were really, really common up on the cliffs because I'm not exactly sure why they were so common, but I think the reason is actually fire control, because I think other types of trees like pine trees or cedars were more common because they're so resistant to heat. But over time, as humans moved in and started fighting the forest fires, the competitive advantage that the pine and cedars had kind of dwindled away because there was less fires, which allowed a lot of the fir trees to grow really quickly and kind of take over the top part of the ecosystem, which is so weird. Like, you never think about that kind of thing happening, but I guess it does. So this forest is going to be entirely made out of fir trees. I'm trying to just kind of put them in patches because that's kind of what I noticed there. There's this place called Preston Park that I'm kind of modeling this off of. And obviously grass. You just gotta make it look like it's not flat and there's actually some level of detail to it. There were alpine lakes literally everywhere in Montana. It was crazy. I think a lot of them had like super muddy, silty bottoms to them, which made them look black. And like, so when you looked at the lake from a distance, you just saw like this black mass of water. Like you couldn't see anything. It was just the water itself was black. It was really weird. So that's kind of what I'm trying to base this off of. Now, once this lake is done, I can move on to the undergrowth. I'm adding bushes to fill in the distance between the trees and the ground, and flowers just to make everything pop. And welcome to the final build. I am really happy with this. I just think it goes so well together. The lines and the mountains, the geology ties it all together. That's what makes everything work. Having the color variation not just in the foliage where it normally is, but then also continue up into the mountains. I really love that.